Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to CERO International's last event of 2014. As the president, I'd like to welcome you all tonight. Thank you so much for supporting our events. I see a lot of familiar faces. To start off with, I'd like to introduce the Board of Advisors, because without their help and our volunteers, I could not do this by myself. First of all, I'd like to introduce Lori Wagner, who is our videographer and producer. And board, please stand so they know who you are. And there's Jeff Hosenfeld, who's, we're starting our investigations. He's also our financial advisors. A big announcement, since the passing of our dear friend, Dr. Roger Lear, we are starting to put together an investigation team so that we will, and I have a waiting list of people who would like to be scanned for possible implants, as well as for those who want to have them removed. We're going to have a team of surgeons who are willing to do the work. So Jeff is on the team, as well as Pete Elmore, investigations. And our newcomer, but she's not really a newcomer, Barbara Elmore on our team. She's also investigations. Yay, Barbara. We have Marin Maston. There's Marin. She's meeting coordinator. And Kim Trotman. Where's Kim? There she is. She's our social media outreach. So when you see all of our announcements on Facebook, Kim takes care of that for us. I also want to thank our volunteers, our security. Vaughn, he's probably stepped out. There you go, Vaughn. Thank you, Vaughn. He's our security team tonight. And we have Jacqueline at the registration table. Sheila and Janet back at the snack table. We have snacks $1, everything's $1 throughout the evening. And then we have the Elmores, Jason and Sean, and where are they? They're working the raffle table. They're really working the room, you guys. They want to sell the raffle tickets. Thank you very much, boys. We've switched our late night dining from the Denny's down the street to Jerry's Deli in Marina Del Rey. So if anyone would like to join us, we're going to be set up in the bar area, a nice roomy bar area, and I spoke with the manager, so if you'd like to join us, that's where we're going to be, and that's what we're going to be using Jerry's Deli for late night dining all through 2015. Mary, would you like to come up and say a few words about the raffle? Or, okay. The mic? Okay. This one's taller.
Yeah, that's a little short for me. Hi, everyone. I don't really need this mic, but I'll go ahead and use it. Thank you for coming this evening. We do offer a raffle every time we have one of these events, and that is our way of earning a little bit of extra money. As you know, people that are involved in ufology do it out of love, not the love of money, but the love of ufology. So anything that you wish to donate, you could possibly win some prizes. We've got DVDs. Rick Shaw was nice enough to donate the Watchers DVDs again. We have 6, 7, and 8. We also have the brand new Citizens Hearing on Disclosure, the DVD that they put out that they sent to the Congress. And this is the evening lectures. There's some very recognizable names on that. Reuben Langdon was nice enough to give us a copy. We have some little novelty things, the toothbrushes and some of the toys and the t-shirts. Grant Cameron also donated a book. We also have a DVD from one of his lectures that goes with the book. So there's quite a bit there. And the last time we had a 50-50 raffle, which worked out really well. One of the attendees walked away with $135. So these boys, the two in the back, Jason and Sean, I believe, yes?
Yes.
They will probably hit you up several times, so if you wish for them to leave you alone, simply buy the tickets. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank Thank you, Mary. And Jeff, come on up and tell the group about the question cards.
Hi, I'm Jeff Hosenfeld, and you found that there was a little card on the seat that you sat in, and we found that when we have a panel, especially a panel that's being moderated, instead of trying to take live questions from the studio audience, what we'd like to be able to do is get feedback from you, but kind of control the flow a little bit. So what we want to be able to do is if you have questions, write them down on the question card, and then when the film is done, we're going to send the question cards up, hand them to our moderator, and he'll kind of go and categorize and see, okay, well, there's some similar questions, and kind of direct the questions to the panel, okay? And it's going to allow more discussion with the panel, and we're still going to be able to get your feedback. And then if you have more questions, like for instance, you pass your card up and you say, well, I wish I'd have asked this. We have more cards, so just kind of come to the registration table and collect a few more, okay? And if you need a pen, we also have some extra pens. Does that make sense? Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jeff. Now, as I mentioned, this is our last event for 2014. We are going to rev up for 2015, January 10th. Now, we don't have our club cards ready for then. We just have had a very busy month, but we will be sending out the email blast to all of you. Always check on our website for updates. January 10th, we're going to have author of the Nephilim series, L.A. Marzulli. He's also co-producer with Rick Shaw on the Watcher series, which is, I know a lot of you are familiar with that. So he's our first guest, and that's going to be January 10th. Also, please spread the word. We always appreciate and accept any donations so that we can carry on our work through another year, and that's what keeps us going, all of you supporting our events as well, and we really appreciate it. Well, we have a very, very exciting event tonight that we want to present to you, and I first want to mention, for those of you who are old enough to remember, this is the 51st anniversary of the John F. Kennedy assassination. How many remember? Yeah, I was 11 years old. Oh, I just gave away my age, didn't I? But I found it to be very interesting, very ironic, but yet no accident, that our date for this event was changed from November 8th to November 22nd. There are no accidents. And so with the subject matter that we're presenting tonight, I think it's going to be quite interesting. We're really not going to talk about UFOs per se tonight, but we are going to talk about government cover-up and suppression, and it all ties in together. I saw Top Priority. I was given a copy by Pete, and I could not believe what I was watching. I had to remind myself that it was real. It was not a Hollywood blockbuster movie. And in fact, I had to watch it twice because it scared the hell out of me. And it was at that moment that I decided that this has to be presented to the general public. Pete introduced me to BJ and Julia Davis. We had dinner, and after meeting them, I have grown to respect them. They become good friends of mine, and you will be astonished at what you're going to see tonight. And the second half of our program, you're going to be able to ask them questions. I know we'll have a lot of them. So I'd like to bring up BJ and Julia Davis. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you so much, you two, for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and we appreciate this opportunity to share the movie with you. And exactly because the government doesn't want its people to know certain things is the main reason why people deserve to know the truth, and that's was the whole purpose for making the documentary, is to reveal the way the government could persecute and attack innocent people just for doing the right thing or for exposing something the government would like to keep secret. So please enjoy, and we'll be happy to answer any questions after the movie if you have them.
And we want to thank you guys for taking the time out of your schedules. What we're presenting is your voice to the world, because what happened to us could happen to you, and we're not asking you to take one political side against the other, because it's not about politics, it's about federal government and management and the suppression of the truth and silencing the people. And what you see here is not contention or allegation. Everything has been adjudicated in a court of law, and the evidence, documents, and depositions that are intercut into the program are all real. And we'll let you, your eyes won't lie, and we want you to enjoy it. The DVDs are in the back if anybody wants one after the program. If you've seen it once, hopefully you'll want to watch it again. But thank you very much for taking your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can everybody get out your raffle tickets? Mary, we can do it from up here? I think everybody's got their tickets. We'll just. Everybody's hiding from you.
Okay.
So do you know what it's, you know what?
Do you want to help me out, Pete, by holding on to this?
Actually, what are we bringing?
Do you want to just... Yeah, unfortunately, hello everybody, we're doing our raffle here. We've got our items at the back table, and we didn't really have a place to put them in the front, so I will do my best to describe from here what it is we're giving away. I can see in his hand. Okay. We have packages, so what I'm going to do, because I'm mobile, is move. So all of your eyes can follow me for just a moment.
Speak louder.
I need to speak louder. Okay. So has everybody got their tickets? We have, and I'm so sorry to do this. I wish there was a way to pick up the whole table and bring it over.
All these little, oh.
Yes, and this goes with it. These are set up together. What we've got here is a package, and I'm going to have this young gentleman bring me things. CERO International wants to thank you, and one of the ways we can do that is provide you with drinking bags and toys. And this is a little blow-up alien doll, little things that we've collected.
Christmas is coming.
We've got a keychain that actually lights up. It's a little spaceship. So for ticket number, if everybody's ready.
625837. 837. Over here.
Oh, Dr. John.
Excellent. Okay, all of this. The Two Watchers DVDs.
Congrats.
Thank you.
For your, for your sailboat.
Yay. Yeah. Second on our raffle, thank you to Rick Shaw and L.A. Marzulli for their incredible work putting these pieces together. This is Watchers 6, 7, and 8. 6 and 7 are on one DVD. Watchers 8 is on the third. LA will be our guest in January 10th with Rick. They will be discussing some of the work that they've put into doing these. So that will be here, January 10th.
And the winner is 625822. That's 822.
Yay! That would be his wife.
I swear I did not know.
Why don't you bring us the doll? This is a very interesting piece that was donated to us. It is called Uji. This is Align with Divine Guidance. So I suspect when you ask of the universe what it is you want, this person is going to amplify your requests. This little deal here. So for winner,
The winner is 625752. 752.
This is Oogie. Oh, excellent. Jeff, the picture frame and the necklace? We've also got something a little artistic here. This was done by one of our board members, Kim Trotman. She actually makes these, which is just great. The picture is interchangeable. You can keep Yvonne more than, that would be great. So if you should choose to put a child or something in there, we understand. Or Yvonne can sign it. This is true. An autograph photo and handmade frame and handmade necklace. Again, this is thanks to Kim Trotman.
And the winner is 625794. 794.
You got it? Of course. These gentlemen are very lucky when it comes to our raffles, and we appreciate that. Okay. Jeff, can you bring up the DVD on the citizens? Okay, this is very important. As most of us know, Stephen Bassett, Reuben Langdon, and another gentleman named Jeremy, and I don't know his last name, have been working very hard on putting together a compilation of the lectures done at the citizens' hearing on disclosure. This is when we had 40 people go up and testify in front of 5 or 6 former congressmen, and I don't remember exactly what the number is. This is the evening lectures. You'll recognize a lot of the names on the back of this. It has recently come out. They've worked very hard on putting this together, so this is something that is new on the scene. You'll hear Linda Moulton Howe. It's got Dr. Greer, Grant Cameron, Richard Dolan, Nick Pope, and more. So this is great.
And the winner is 625763. 763.
Oh, back here, Liberty. Also know that these are for rent on Vimeo, on demand, CHD, Citizens Hearing on Demand. They are now, you can rent these, show them in your home, or you can actually buy the DVD packs. This is a shorter compilation. They've got a longer one coming out with, I believe, all 40 hours. So that'll be very interesting. Congratulations, Liberty, and tell me how it is. Or I might be watching it with you. Okay, here we have a book written by Grant Cameron, who was our lecturer the last time we were here. This is UFOs, Area 51, and Government Informants. So this is very appropriate for this evening's lecture. And with it, there's also a DVD of a lecture that he gave January 18th of 2014 on the Alien Disclosure Plan. Both of these, Grant Cameron.
Okay, the winner is 625745. 745.
Oh, over here. Good. Now, this is one of my favorite giveaways. I really enjoy this one. We have here alien ice cream. Yes, I'm serious. Freeze dried. They say it tastes great and it's all natural. I'm a little frightened of this. If you do win, however, you have your alien toothbrush and 2 replacement heads to help you out. All right, this is our little novelty pack. So this goes out to
625814. 814. Kim.
That's what you got. And don't forget the ice cream. All right, excellent.
Do you rehydrate it and pop it in the freezer, or how's the ice cream work?
I'm not sure. It is dehydrated. Go ahead and try and rehydrate it if you will. I think you're supposed to eat it dry. But yeah, I'll let somebody else figure it out and tell me how it went. And then this one, we were donated some T-shirts. If I remember correctly, attention ETs, please take me for a ride in the cosmos. Be careful what you ask for is all I have to say about that. Right.
And the winner of the free T-shirt is 625776.
Yay.
There we go.
You got a free t-shirt.
And maybe a free ride.
Okay. And no, we're not raffling off the sign. Thank you. Thank you, brother. No. We do a 50-50. Last time we had a really great 50-50, which was awesome. This one, not as much, but the fact is somebody here is going to be walking away with cash, which is awesome because we are too, which is the point of doing this. So, drum roll, please. 75. Okay, $75 here goes to a winner. Yes, I bought tickets. So, Jackie, I hope you're checking my numbers. Thank you.
The winner is 625-873. 873.
Vaughn, we can finally pay our security detail. This is awesome. All right, everybody, that does it for the raffle. Thank you for participating. This really helps us, and I hope you enjoy your gifts. And he only bought one ticket. Everybody, that's all you need is one ticket. All right, thank you. Yvonne, I'm going to turn this over to you right now.
Okay, now we're going to bring BJ and Julia up. BJ and Julia, if you'd like to take a seat. And we're going to have Dr. John Elias. And the audience wants to give you a standing ovation, you guys. Yay. They really appreciate what you have done for all of us. So thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to our doctor here. So you're going to sit here?
Okay.
You're going to sit there?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm John, a.k.a. Dr. J on the airwaves, if you heard on Revolution or Dark Matter. Have you heard of Jimmy Church? Anybody? Okay. I'm right before him on Tuesdays and Thursday nights on Revolution as well. Anyhow, wasn't it a great movie? Give him another round of applause. Yeah. And especially, personally, the courage that you guys had to share this, that deserves a round of applause for actually coming forward with the story.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to kick it off with my own question first. I actually got quite a few, but the first one I'm going to ask you is, since this movie's been released, have you had any other government threats or any harassment of any kind?
It continues, and mainly now through the IRS, which was unleashed by the Department of Homeland Security. And as many people know, when everything else fails, they bring in the IRS. So they're auditing us for over a decade-long period, and so we're still dealing with retaliation. And then, in addition to that, they're still trying to tax us on the monies that the Bonanos stole from us, even though those people are in prison. So we are still dealing with that.
In addition to that, though, I want to add this. I'm glad you're all sitting down. When they negotiated to settle with us rather than go to a trial, presumably by jury, which is generally prohibited when you sue the government, they don't want a public forum. They try to keep it as contained as possible. But after they settled with us, then the IRS seized our bank accounts. So it's a double bang, triple bang. Also, too, ladies and gentlemen, I know you guys were expecting Angelo Bertolotti, Brittany's dad, to be here. Unfortunately, he had 2 strokes recently. We were with him with Jim Moray right down the street here on Inside Edition, and he had 1 stroke. We assumed that it was on that day at that moment, and they couldn't use any of the interview. And he's just really incapacitated, and he's of age, maturity, but a great human being and dedicated to justice for his daughter, which we'll tell you guys as the night proceeds.
And let's remind everybody, the IRS not only can make your life a living hell, it was tax evasion that put Al Capone away. So we give you credit for having the courage to continue to deal with this. Ooh, the cards are a little mess, but I put them in order. Specifically, one of them relates to something that you just mentioned, and I think it's going to be the one that'll kick it off. Here we go. Please clarify how Brittany Murphy became involved in your situation.
Well, that the same supervisor that was brought on to attack me in a million different ways was the one that claimed that her daughter's friend, Brittany Murphy, had told her that I worked on my husband's movie, which would have required Homeland Security's permission. So they were trying to find that as one of many reasons to get rid of me and get me fired. And but when we went to Brittany, she said that yes, she knows Susan Butwell's daughter, but she never said any such thing. She never talked about us to Susan Butwell's daughter or Susan Butwell. So she discredited their allegation right there, and she also had her attorneys write a formal letter to confirm that she never said that. And at that point, she ended up on our witness list as one of the people that we were planning to bring into a jury trial against Homeland Security for all the abuses, for all the false investigations. So you can only imagine how much media that would attract if Brittany Murphy walked into the courtroom, except she suffered an untimely death before that ever came about.
I'd like to add too on that because there's so much in the media as to what Brittany was or was not. One thing first and foremost, let us assure you unequivocally, Brittany Murphy was not a drug abuser. The actual coroner's report showed that any prescription meds that she had in her system were below.
They were in subtherapeutic or therapeutic levels, so she was not a drug abuser. There were no illegal drugs in her system whatsoever, unlike what the media was trying to spin, that she was some kind of a druggie that died of an overdose. That's not at all what happened. And then later on, we helped Brittany's dad to get the custody of specimens of Brittany's hair and tissues to send them for independent evaluation, and that took us years, and we had to take LAPD and the coroner to court to get these samples obtained. And then the results had shown that Brittany had 10 heavy metals and toxins in her system, including barium, which is commonly found in rat poisons. So there was definitely not a natural death, and we were in process of filing additional litigation with Brittany's dad to force the coroner to reopen the case because they're refusing to reopen the case. They're just claiming it was anemia and pneumonia for both Brittany and Simon, and are just refusing to acknowledge not one lab, but 2 independent labs have confirmed that they're heavy metals and toxins. And a very prominent pathologist, Cyril Wecht, who was also involved in disputing the autopsy of JFK when he was murdered, he's involved in our case, and he said the murder cannot be excluded and the autopsy needs to be redone, and he's ready to do it, except the coroner's office is not cooperating.
I'd like to add into that as well. There was no toxicology report done by the LA coroner's office. So they did not test her for poisons or anything in a normal, complete autopsy. She was giving a fast, basic blood panel, but no heavy metals and poisons. And you would want to raise the question, why wouldn't they, to a lady 32 years old, a multimillionaire, and a movie star, although everyone should have the same. It doesn't make her any more, but still, nonetheless. And then you had Craig Harvey on camera there, the coroner, LA County coroner, saying that they miss homicides in LA County. Does that make you feel comfortable as taxpayers? I wouldn't think so. And these kind of shortcuts that were taken where the LAPD closed the case within 1 hour, and Ed Winter, whom you saw, and this is going to be a first what I'm going to tell you right now. Ed Winter is the deputy coroner to Craig Harvey, on audio tape said to Angelo Bertolotti that they knew something happened to Simon, but no one cared.
And in more explicit terms, he said nobody cared about that fet, and then he used the F word.
Very, very derogatory.
And so therefore, it didn't matter that something had something was done to him to cause his death. So they know it, and they don't want it exposed because it'll only make them look corrupt or incompetent. So they're resisting reopening the investigation.
There's a medical examiner, Fajardo, that they have been, AJ, with our support, sued them, and they negotiated the settlement. He wasn't seeking any financial benefits or rewards. He just wanted the remains so we could test them independently. And in the part of the settlement, they wanted a prerequisite that he wouldn't sue them for their incompetence or mistakes or just not doing their duty. And so what they've been banking on is that because he's going on 90, that they hope he'll pass away before he could fully litigate the matter, and before, preferably by a jury trial, and really get down to the facts. But Yvonne earlier tonight stated that, referenced the JFK case, Julia and Angelo were on the doctor's show on the JFK anniversary, and they addressed that, and the pathologist CERO came on board as well, and said that it has all the bells and whistles of murder, and that it warrants her being exhumed, and that would also exhume Simon's body. One of the labels that they raced to put on Brittany and Simon, they must have won the lotto to die of the same death, same room, same house, 5 months apart. But they found out that we were coming close to releasing the documentary, and they raced after a year's letting it laying dormant to put it had a pending investigation like Matthew Judd's death, which has not been resolved. So they put pneumonia, and one of the, if you do the research on arsenic poisoning, the elements of pneumonia and are symbolic, or can be hidden, I guess is the right way to say it, can be hidden by a Band-Aid of pneumonia, the contributing medical factors to arsenic poisoning. It has the same symptoms and what have you. Oh, okay. Did you hear what I said about the arsenic poisoning? What I said was that they labeled Simon and Brittany with both dying from pneumonia and anemia. Well, pneumonia, the
Heavy metal poisoning causes symptoms that are similar to pneumonia, and it also causes the blood to become so irregular that it could be taken as anemia, but that doesn't mean that pneumonia and anemia are primary causes of death, and that's what the coroner's office failed to
Band-Aid.
look into. Yes, it may look like pneumonia and anemia, but it doesn't mean that that's what killed them. There were different items that the lab in their report said that it's not rational to think that any person would ingest these quantities of heavy metals on their own, and therefore had to be introduced by third party, possibly with criminal intent. That's the wording from one of the lab reports that, if you look it up, is posted online along with the news we've been trying to keep out there to inform the public of what really happened to Brittany Murphy, who was unfairly labeled a drug addict or paranoid or junkie, and she was none of those things.
And also, too, so you guys know, Robert Bonner, whom you saw there as one of the primary bad guys, was also head of the DEA at one point in time in his illustrious career. So that's where Brittany got labeled, drug abuser, drug user. And from that allegation and contention, which the studio heads at that time had canceled her Happy Feet 2 and Tinkerbell contracts, and they used that excuse that allegedly or presumably she was into drugs and could make the film run over or not be bonded. So there's a lot of variables there, but Bonner definitely was instrumental in the drug abuse.
And the DEA, I don't know if most of you know this, but they're the most corrupt policing organization in the U.S. I'm going to ask a follow-up before I get back to more questions. Let me just say, if anyone else has any more questions, please feel free to bring them up. Going back to Brittany Murphy, I know poor AJ is obviously not doing well, getting close to 90. What other efforts is he making or hoping to make to beyond the day when sadly he'll pass, to continue to clear his daughter's name? Because obviously this is very important to the entire family, I presume. I mean, it's important to us.
Yes, to make sure that even if something were to happen to him where he is no longer able to pursue it on his own, he had given us legal authority to continue pursuing legal recourse to try to get justice for Brittany Murphy and clear her name and finally reveal what really killed her.
Everybody needs to know, especially this poor woman who TMZ and everybody labeled as a drug addict and overdose. Just very, very sad.
You just mentioned TMZ. That's another thing that we found out when TMZ, you would think, would be the first gossip rag that would run stories about Brittany Murphy and the lab reports. Pretty much every other news outlet had reported about these new lab findings except for TMZ. And then we found out that apparently TMZ works very closely with the coroner's office, and that's how they turn out to be the very first ones to report about celebrity deaths and findings in celebrity investigations. If you try Googling things, you will constantly find TMZ is the first to know about people dying in Los Angeles County. And because of this close relationship with Ed Winter, they actually told us that Brittany Murphy's father was blackballed, and the news from him was not considered credible and was not welcomed by their organization.
Is their cause of death still listed as pending?
No, the cause of death is listed as anemia and pneumonia for both Brittany and Simon.
Who's the one that's still pending on?
That was Matthew Judd, and it was later changed to intoxication with unknown substances.
Well, let's go to him for a moment, because that was one thing I meant to ask you. 25 years old, 1985 to 2005, literally months after the raid, and he was the filmmaker, he was the videographer. If it wasn't for him, just like you said in the movie, people would not have known you were raided. Can you describe the circumstances surrounding his death? Like you said, I know they're labeling it as maybe a substance or intoxication, but just what happened? Was he just one day found on the floor at his house, or anything leading up to it? Was he getting harassed?
Well, when he was filming, he thought that the agents had noticed him. And in the video, you could hear him saying, "Oh no, they saw me." And then he backs in, and that's when you see the rest of the footage filmed through the window. And he also mentioned that in his statement. When he brought the tape to our attorney's offices, he was shaking like a leaf. He was so terrified. It took him a long time to even come forward and admit that he had this tape. And he said he thought they noticed him, and he was afraid something would happen to him. And then he was found dead, sitting on the couch in his living room, home alone, and no apparent cause. And the death certificate says it was intoxication with unknown substances, but surely tests would have shown what types of substances they were, so it definitely doesn't seem right. And it was pending for a long time period as well, also corresponding with us making inquiries for the documentary when they all of a sudden started labeling these cases in all three of these deaths.
Very sad. I hope the family is still pursuing his death.
Unfortunately, his family is so terrified that they were afraid to even give us his picture. That's why in where you see at the end where we say "in memory of," we didn't have his picture to put up because his family was so terrified of what happened to him that they literally just backed away from the whole thing. They said they don't want to mess with the government. They just want it left alone. So no, they're not pursuing it. They're too terrified that it would cost them even more.
Well, God bless them for bringing you the video, because, I mean, that is something that every American should see and know what they're capable of. Let's go back to the questions here. You kindly, you mentioned this, briefly touched on this point, I guess, in general, but not really the answer. Did you get back, this is from Anonymous, by the way, did you get back the money stolen by the mafia, the Bonanno family? No. Yeah, go figures. It's probably with Donner and Coffer, I'm guessing, right? Yeah. All right. This is from Chris, and of course to both of you. Was not clear early in the film how the media found out about Julia's, or your report, of course, of the 23 entering the country on July 4th. Wasn't that supposed to be DHS internal only? And was the report leaked, and by whom?
That's a mystery to me as well. All that we were told is when the field commissioner, Adele Fasano, was deposed in her deposition, she dropped the bomb saying that commissioner was approached by the LA Times. That was news to us, and she never identified who it was or where they got the information.
This is my own question now. Those 23 names, by any chance, did you get a chance to write them down, or have you followed up to see what they've come about? Maybe they're CIA assets now, or have committed some sort of, or behind some sort of false flag terrorist act or anything? Do you know anything about what's become of these people? Or at least maybe if they're false names, we don't know.
No, it would have been illegal for me to walk away with any of that information outside of my workplace. And there again, at that point, I assumed that it would be investigated because I was turning it over not only to Intel, but also to the FBI. So all I remember are some of the countries that they were coming from: Iran, Iraq, Pakistan, and there were a few other countries. But I did not keep the actual paperwork because I thought that it would be investigated on a higher level.
Yeah, and you were doing your job. And sadly, look what happened doing your job. Let's get to the next question here. And this is by Dr. John Miller. All right, so the first two are crossed out, so let's get to the second two. Are we now living in a fascist police state? And I'll ask the second one too. How can we do anything about this?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the second one?
How can we do anything about this?
We are not yet living in the police state, but if things keep going the way they are, we are sliding backwards into something like a police state. And I think the best thing we can do about it is to be outspoken about it, because that is the, thank you. That is the best weapon we as citizens have, is our voices, and that's the only thing they're afraid of, is public exposure. That's the only thing that bothers them. And you can see in the overreaction that was caused by media exposure of this corruption or incompetence. There's no telling what exactly I've stumbled into, but it is only public exposure that they're afraid of, so we're determined to give them as much as we possibly can, and so should everyone else. Don't be silent about abuses. Find a way to have your voices heard. And another important thing that I wanted to make clear: don't rely on your congressmen or congresswomen, because as I found out the hard way, when you send them a complaint, they turn around and give it straight to the perpetrators and tell them, will you look into it? And then they send you a letter telling you, so glad we could help you. Now we'll wait to hear from Homeland Security or whoever you're complaining about. So don't rely on them. They will not help. They're part of the same system. So we have to be our own media, and we have to find our ways to get this system exposed and work to change it.
I got two important points on what you said. First, speaking publicly is probably the best thing we can do. And you're right, it does scare them. And I think the more and more people that speak, it encourages more and more people to come forward as whistleblowers and really show what's really happening. And with regards to our country going to a fascist state, remember the Patriot Act. That alone took away so many rights, and it was signed merely a month and a half after 9/11, yet you know, or anybody would know, an act of Congress, a presidential law, something that's signed by the executive branch, is not written and reviewed in 45 days. I don't care how fast you're doing it, it's just the process does not work that fast. So clearly, it was sitting there ready to be signed and waiting for a moment to be signed. So you're right, we are definitely leaning in a bad way. Let's get to the next one here. This is also by Anonymous. What did you tell the FBI after you received their letter accepting you in the department on the same day you were jailed in Los Angeles? And the second one, relating to that one, do you still want to consider being an FBI agent to clear things up within?
Well, on the date when we had to self-surrender, contacting the FBI was clearly not something I was thinking about at that point. That was over. And since the arrests still remain on our record, even though we were factually innocent and the charges were dismissed, any employment by law enforcement is out of the question for me at any point in the future. And that's what they do. That's why they bring ridiculous charges like what they did with a 2-year-old murderer. They know in the end they cannot win, but by the time you get to that point, you had spent so much money on attorneys, you had to put up bail, you may end up sitting for a long time in jail. By that time, they win anyhow, even when they lose, because they've exhausted you in every way imaginable. So that's why they don't care how ludicrous charges they may bring forward. So, law enforcement career is out of the question at this point, but I passed every stage of employment with the FBI, and that was my first goal to begin with. But when I tried to apply with them, I hadn't been in the U.S. for many enough years. They require a full decade, and they told me, why don't you try another federal agency and then work for them a couple of years and come back to us? And that's exactly what I did. Unfortunately, Homeland Security turned out to be the very worst choice I could have made.
They're the ones that destroyed you. And let me just say this too, which I'm sure you just mentioned this point. The police on the street, depending, no matter what agency they are, they can do whatever they want. People say, well, we have constitutional rights. That is true on the court level. They will arrest you. You will have to spend time in jail until you're bailed out. It'll only be when you're arraigned or beyond a preliminary hearing at that point, when your case will be dismissed for lack of charges or lack of evidence. But like Julia just said, you've already lost, they've already won the moment you start spending time in jail until you're released or bailed, and the attorney's fees. So you're absolutely right, that is a very difficult thing to put up with.
Yes, and another point that we were talking about, what can we do, is to videotape and audio tape as much as you can. If you are dealing with police, first of all, I wouldn't advise even talking to any law enforcement without attorney present, because anything could be twisted, misconstrued, or they could just clearly lie about what you allegedly said. But videotape and record as much as you can, because you never know. Camera doesn't lie, but they do.
That's right. And one sad thing about at least our jurisdiction and from at least common law, is police's statements are taken as evidence, whereas if in court what you're trying to enter as admissible obviously has to be backed up by more than just your own truth. So whatever they write on the police report is considered as fact, and it's told to the jury to be taken as evidence. So you're right, it's your word against theirs, and they can lie, and they get away with it, and it's proven time and time again. And another very important point you mentioned, yes, we have to police our police. And what better way than to show them that we're recording them? Because if we don't police our police, who's going to do it for them? The government's not doing it. Their superiors aren't doing it because they're all in on it together. So, okay, here's another one for you. What efforts are being made to the international press and authorities who can help raise awareness?
I have been interviewed by, by Russia Today and by Al Jazeera and yes, and we're doing all that we can to get the story out in spite of it being suppressed. So we're definitely still working on creating more awareness for the story.
Let me add to that too, if I may. Originally, we had a CBS development deal. Myself and Julia as producers and writers. All right, what I was saying is we had a CBS development deal prior to all of this happening, and none of the major networks would carry the story. 60 Minutes actually censored us. They interviewed us and then wouldn't do the story because Bonner called Mike Wallace, who was still alive at that time, and said, don't cover the Julia Davis story, back off. So, and then in answer about... Yes, absolutely. So we wanted to let them know they can do anything they want to do, but we're going to expose it no matter what the price. So that's the reality there. The other sad note of it all is that with the FBI, you know, it's heralded as being our premier law enforcement agency. I actually did the TV series years ago with Pernell Roberts. Some of you who are old enough may remember it, for NBC. And I directed a few of the episodes, had good relations with the FBI, and completely abandoned and betrayed in the time of making a civil complaint about a criminal act perpetrated against a civilian. Abandoned, no regard.
Okay, this one you've already answered, but to appease, just I'm going to ask. I did not catch the Brittany and her husband how they actually died. Natural causes, but what exactly? You said pneumonia and.
They said it was pneumonia and anemia, but both of them suffered with agonizing stomach pains, vomiting, and hallucinations. They had symptoms that are quite typical of a poisoning, and you would think that they would test for poisons and toxins, but we have the coroner on videotape, which we had put up on YouTube, admitting they did not test for poisons or toxins for either Brittany or Simon, even though they were violently throwing up and had stomach aches and had all the symptoms that would not make anyone think anemia or pneumonia, but would make them think, were they poisoned? And Brittany's samples had shown.
They've established excess barium. Did it establish other heavy metals?
Yes, there were 10 heavy metals and poisons there. Yes, the coroner's office just ignored those lab findings because they're not the ones that did it, but the two independent labs that Mr. Bertolotti sued to have them tested. And the coroner just said, regardless of those findings, they're not going to reopen the case.
Sad. I consider you got evidence worthy of exhuming a body and looking at it again, but no, just like BJ said, a Band-Aid covering it up. Again, the cover-up, how high can this go? And obviously it goes a lot higher than these your supervisors. From personal experience, Girardi, the attorneys who represented, the firm that represented Donner, Coffer and Deal, right? That firm, I know, is they make so much money, they contribute to Loyola Law School so much that the biggest building there is named Girardi.
You know what? The Girardi represented us, but they exposed, their nature towards the end of the litigation, and because it turned out that they were tied to the same perpetrator, so they did not do us justice in representing us properly. It's miraculous that we even managed to prevail in the end, because literally we were left there standing naked and thinking people were on our side, but yes, the law firm of Girardi let us down as well.
Well, bless the attorney that did help you. I got to give him credit for that.
And he was disbarred. He was disbarred. The attorney, Chance Gordon, that you saw throughout the documentary, that mentioned Judge Matz threatening to put him in prison. After the documentary came out, he was due to appear in the Brittany Murphy litigation where we were suing to get the specimens. On the day he was supposed to come to the hearing, his offices were raided. If you Google it, you'll find it. He was threatened with prosecution. He was disbarred, and he still may be prosecuted as well on things related to his representation of distressed homeowners.
That is sad. This shows that this is keep going. One more question. This is by John, so you may want to help me because there's one word here that I can't quite get. Significance of the 4 German names of the blank, and one of them is Deal, D-E-A-L, from Deal, I guess, if you pronounce it that way, D-I-E-H-L. And then Coffer, the coffer that was in there, K-A-U-F-E-R, and then Coffin, K-A-U-F-E-N, and then Matz, and then it says, and another.
Yeah, the other one's Bonner.
Bonner was the other one.
I noticed that the 4 guys you showed there, the miscreants, they all had German names. And by the way, what's the significance of the hand sign that they when Deal and Cowper were sworn in, each of them put their hand up like I titled the finger like a Vulcan thing. They put their hand up like this. And so that an Illuminati or a Masonic or what? What does this signature mean? Hand sign's a gang sign.
Very interesting point. We haven't even considered that, but it's an interesting point.
Look into it, just like Yvonne said, Bohemian Grove. We're almost just out of time. Can I ask this one last question that came from the public? Again, there's one short word missing, but it should be okay. To me, the best explanation for the federal government's completely blank proportion response to Julia Davis' short, simple report is that she noticed part of another false flag operation of the sort that 9/11 was in progress. What do you think?
I think it's quite possible because it was such an overkill the way they tried to destroy us for something that I didn't even think that anything would come of it other than someone maybe telling me, oh, you caught these, a good thing, we're looking into it. That's all I thought would come of it, but instead they had just unleashed all the might of the government against us. So quite possible that it was something that they didn't mean to have uncovered, that was some kind of an operation that I had messed up for them. Yes.
Let me interject this too. Michael Chertoff became the next DHS director after Tom Ridge left. Chertoff is one of your authors of the Patriot Act, and then he also has financial interest in Rapiscan, which is your airport screeners and x-ray machines. So there's a demonstrated conflict of interest with your underwear bomber that became about, that birthed this. So you see, you have all of this, these elected officials with their lobbyists and contracts, and it's just an incestuous spider web that feeds on you.
And speaking of scanners, they're about to unveil a new scanner pretty soon that is very much like an X-ray that will look a whole lot deeper than a regular scanner. But in order for them to justify it, something will have to happen where someone will carry something in their body cavity, and then they'll say, oh, we need to look through you. And they've already created the scanner for that, which will cost billions of dollars to have it installed in all the airports. So that's coming next. It's a big money-making machine.
It's all about money. Sadly, it's all about money. We are out of time, everybody. We can go on for hours and hours. One more time, give them a big hands of applause for the courage for telling their story. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, BJ and Julia. Yes, they love you. Now, there's just a few of their DVDs back there, but if you go on their website, topprioritythemovie.com, if you mention CERO or CERO International, you will get the $15 discounted rate for the event. And so you'll watch for the CERO. I'll probably be doing that because I'm going to put this in everybody's Christmas stocking this year. So we need to vacate the room no later than 10:15. So we're going to go to Jerry's Deli in Marina Del Rey. And again, Wendy and Paul are back there with their DVDs of past events. Thank you so much, everybody. Happy holidays.